This weekend at Easter, we are celebrating the special and powerful relationship that our church has with our partners in Tanzania. It really is an incredible story. One of the reasons for the passion and power of this relationship is that every year, a group from Easter Lutheran Church goes as ambassadors to Tanzania. And while they are there, they are able to experience firsthand the dynamic power of this growing church. They are able to experience the reality of poverty in an extremely poor country. They are able to experience worship that arises above difficulties in the praise of God and the creation of human community that sustains and directs lives.
I went back to Tanzania the second time because the first time was incredibly powerful. I wanted to feel that again for the second time. I also wanted to see Radio Furaha for myself. My husband and I have contributed to Radio Furaha because it's such a great deal. It wasn't up and going the first time I was there. I was touched by the people that were working there. They seemed very, very dedicated and hardworking.
Radio Furaha really is a miracle story. Over 400,000 listeners are benefited by gospel music, by preaching, by Bible study, by educational programs, and that is shown by the incredible immediate response when there are call-in programs. The lines are immediately jammed. Over 200 phone calls have come into the station and over 2,000 text messages each day. This last year I baptized 14 Muslims who became Christians because they were listening to Radio Furaha and were touched deeply by the gospel of Jesus Christ.
I was surprised at how little it cost to actually sponsor a student for a year. Not much more than my granddaughters were paying for their books at college. And these young people had a calling to become a pastor, and without a sponsor, they probably would never be able to go to school for it. So I decided it was something I would like to do. Reuben was ordained 2 years ago. I was very proud the day he was ordained, and it made me feel good to have been able to be a part of that. It warms your heart to know that you've done something really meaningful for someone else. So I decided to continue sponsoring a student every year.
Scores of students have studied theology and are now serving as pastors in a country in which the church continues to grow at about 10% a year. We have hundreds upon hundreds of secondary school students who have finished their studies and now are either in productive jobs or continuing on with higher education. We are able to help students who would otherwise never be able to get an education to go to school.
Everyone always says, if I could do one thing and change someone's life, just one person, it would be all worth it. Well, we were able to change one person's life, and it's been more than worth it. Every time I think of him, I think of that big smile, and it's been just a joy for us to see him go through 3 years of college, and now he's got a job at the federal bank in Tanzania in microfinance. It was the best thing we ever did. We don't have any children of our own together, so Vinny is kind of our kid, and he calls his parents, and we call him our kid.
The microfinance program has now expanded to village banks in 23 communities. Normally, people, when they get these small loans between $50 and $1,000, are able to double their income. This is an immense impact in a society in which rural people generally have incomes of under $1 a day. One of the tremendous things about our connection with Tanzania is every year there are new dimensions to it. This year, there is a nursing school that has started at the Alula Hospital. There's a desperate need for nurses, and now they're being trained, and we're grateful that Easter has had a role in this.
Here I was on my way to one of the least developed countries in the world, and would have every reason to believe, that I'm superior to these folks, because of the material possessions, that we have. And God really bopped me on the head and said, no, you've got the wrong attitude. These people are more important to me than you are. And it shaped my whole experience there, and it shaped what I've done, since I returned. The biggest change in me was an attitude change, towards less privileged people, in the world, and that they are God's children and they are equally important, to anyone in this country.
There's a wonderful visual sign of our partnership, and that is the roofs in the Nyanzwa area. There are 7 different roofs that have been given by Easter. Our principle is that people need to build the buildings, to bake the bricks, and put up the walls. And then when that is done, Easter is able to help with the creation of a roof. This year, there's a roof at Mgwelo, and they had their first service there a year ago Christmas. There's a new program this year called Prene, and it is for semi-nomadic people such as Maasai, Wagogo, Barabai, and other people who move regularly with their herds. The government forced people to leave the area down by Mbeya, and tens of thousands of people had to leave their traditional pasturing grounds and find new places. We have an opportunity to help reconstruct societies both economically and spiritually.
A little boy was standing on the side of the road, hopping up and down on one pink flip-flop. And he took his flip-flop off and held it up, and he was so excited to have one shoe. That image is really powerful in my memory of just a boy with a pink flip-flop and just how happy he was to have it. Of people with very little but yet incredible joy. Haleluya, mshukuruni Bwana, kwa kuwa ni mwema.